thinking about burnout, I think a lot of times it seems from afar, when I look at it, that we're very quick to put that label on it. And think about this. This is a phrase I heard a couple weeks ago. You limit what you label. And so I think a lot of people just go, hey, I'm burnt out. But let's actually go to the root cause of that. What actually is making you feel that way versus putting that label on it. And then you don't actually do anything to move forward through that. You just kind of like that as a badge. I'm burnt out. Let's spend the time. Let's take the deep work and let's figure out where that's coming from.
You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast brought to you by focus-biz.com.
Welcome back to another episode. With us today is the founder and owner of the Mindful Soulpreneur, CT Kaupp. He is on a mission to rid the world of the Sunday Scaries and help people build lives they generally look forward to, all about finding that work-life balance. CT, so excited to have you on. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we were chatting a bit before, finding more about your journey, what you've been up to. Tell us more about the past 10 plus years, what you were doing and how that kind of transitioned into the coaching consulting side of business here.
I got started in entrepreneurship back about a decade ago. Worked for my late father's marketing agency and for a good amount of years, and then decided, hey, I kind of want to do it my own and price it the way I want to price it and work with the clients that I want to work with. Now they kind of look silly because of how remote everybody is, but back 10 years ago, that wasn't necessarily a thing. And so my dad was very much traditional, like local, working with the local businesses, where I'm like, we could work with a client in LA just as easily as New York, as Florida, as Seattle, whatever it might be. And so that kind of freedom and kind of agile approach spoke to me. And so I started my own thing, essentially doing what I did for the agency, but doing it for myself. And then after it'll be 8 years in 25. And then I would say about 6 months ago, I decided that it was the right time. We were talking pre-recording, that preparation met opportunity to create the Mindful Soulpreneur and helping people to find that balance between life and work and life. And yeah, that's how we got right here.
That's very exciting. Quite the journey. I hear that from a lot of other entrepreneurs, something that they were doing or working on, or they had mentors or people who kind of show them the ropes in something. And then they decided, I want to try this for myself, which is exciting. It's scary. And I think something that you mentioned is the Sunday Scaries. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners kind of get inside our head. We have a lot of hats to wear. Our brains are constantly going and it's tough to find that work-life balance. But something you kind of put into this system here is the 3-step process, the identify, reflect, and transform. Can you tell us more about those and how that can apply to a lot of the solopreneurs that are out there?
Sure. So first, identify your energy and what is draining you, what is fulfilling you, and being able to just kind of sit. Think about like sitting in silence. And it's not that you don't need to sit with a meditative state with your legs crossed and all of that, like with the stereotypical thing. But think about how busy we all are, and we can't spend 2 seconds without our phone, or just can't spend 2 seconds without being stimulated by something. And so just to have that time to decompress, chill out, and just literally let whatever comes to you and through you, and then just reflect on that, like whatever that. It doesn't mean you need to change anything right now, but just kind of let it be and sit with that. And whether that's a couple hours, a couple days, and then take the next steps forward to be able to make a positive change from whatever's coming up, draining your energy, uplifting you, and how you can kind of shift that ratio.
Nice. That's brilliant. And what are some of the other symptoms that the solopreneurs are experiencing that kind of lead them into kind of need CT's help? I need to see what he's about because they're just kind of feeling drained. What other symptoms kind of does that affect in business?
I would say something that comes to me is like thinking about burnout. I think a lot of times it seems from afar, when I look at it, that we're very quick to put that label on it. And think about this. This is a phrase I heard a couple weeks ago. You limit what you label. And so I think a lot of people just go, hey, I'm burnt out. But let's actually go to the root cause of that. What actually is making you feel that way versus putting that label on it. And then you don't actually do anything to move forward through that. You just kind of like that as a badge. I'm burnt out. Let's spend the time. Let's take the deep work and let's figure out where that's coming from. And something that speaks to me on that is there's all different symptoms to feeling burnt out. We could be here for hours, but that come to me, or one specifically, is like lack of growth opportunities. And so you may be doing this thing, whether solo or you have a team or you're an 8 to 5 employee, whatever it might be, and you just feel like you're stagnant, like you don't see the opportunity to grow further in that company or in that business. And just like that stagnation is really draining to your energy. And especially for somebody like myself, I'm really driven and growth oriented and want to just keep striving and growing for no other reason than in myself. It's just very internally driven. And that's kind of what spoke to me. So to get transparent, that's what spoke to me about the website was like, I was feeling this lack of growth. I was capped at the amount of clients that I had. It wasn't that I couldn't service more. This business is still going and I have no desire to shut that down at all. I don't mean that, but there was like a glass ceiling on the amount of clients that I felt like I was attracting. And so I would get two and then I would lose one, and then I would get one and I would lose two. And it just like kept yin, yang, yang. And over time, that sitting with and reflecting on that was like my main kind of energy drain on that side of the business.
That's great advice and practical. Can you tell me more about what these Sunday Scaries are? Because I feel it's kind of like leading into another work week that we're kind of like just adding to our own anxiety and getting in our own head.
Yeah, it's like the dread and the anticipation, the anxiety around that next week. Similar to what we talked about at the beginning, is just reflecting on that instead of just putting that label on it and being okay with that. Let's figure out the reasons behind that. I had an interesting situation that I was going to go play sports on Sunday afternoon with some friends, and they came back and said, "Oh, sorry, we can't make it. So it has the Sunday Scaries." And I was like, okay, aha moment here. That kind of iteration then on the business. This is like the reason I think why I'm doing this business. It's bigger than myself. And I really feel strongly that I want to rid the world of that. Because if you're fulfilled by the work that you're doing, again, whether you're working for yourself or somebody else, it does not, the type of work you do doesn't matter. You can make 40,000 and absolutely love every minute of every day, or you can make 400 million, bajillion thousand and dislike or dread 99% of what you do. So yeah, I'm just passionate about kind of changing the narrative around that. And I think a lot, but I just kind of go back, I feel like a lot of people put that label on it, but then don't work through it. So that's kind of what I'm trying to bring to light and help people to do.
That's fantastic. And you yourself have done your own podcast. You're a podcast host. You're now guesting on other podcasts. Isn't it nice connecting and building relationships with all these other entrepreneurs? Can you tell us more about what your podcast was or what you enjoyed about it?
Yeah, so just a quick overview. I am starting the Soul Path podcast as we head into 2025. So not sure when this episode will go, but it probably will be out by the time that listeners get this in their ears. And then the one that I did a couple of years ago was called Business in Board Charts. And so that was to marry my love of the water with coastal business owners and entrepreneurs. And I did that as a weekly podcast for a year back a couple of years ago. I enjoyed the podcast arena and I'm excited to get back into it. And then Soul Path will be more just kind of tips, tricks, resources, different things that come to me. I'll give you one thing. I have a weekly newsletter called Soulful Sundays, and I was just ready for next week's. And then this is something that I probably would end up talking about in a certain episode is, okay, Christmas is coming, holidays are coming, and we're all buying things every other day, right? Or every other hour. We're clicking to buy and we're getting it in Amazon in 3 hours. So whether it's for us, somebody else, or ourselves, I'm like thinking more from our own self standpoint is just thinking about how many things you've bought and then you get and like, I really need that. Did I really want that? Like it just ends up collecting and collecting and collecting. So if you just take time to put it in your cart, but don't actually buy it, I guarantee you it will be life-changing if you go back in 24 hours and you're like, oh, I didn't even remember I had that in cart, or I didn't even think about that. And so I literally just went through this about a week ago with no intention of doing like an experiment, but it hit me because I did it probably 4 or 5 different times within a week. And most of them I just forgot about that they even existed when I woke up the next morning. So that was just an interesting little tidbit and kind of a self-experiment that I didn't know I was doing, but it came out to be pretty powerful.
It's something that all of us are trying to help alleviate is just the finances. We either need to make more money or we need to lower the expenses and improve that bottom line. So any tips and tricks that lead towards that is really important, especially when we kind of get the shiny object syndrome. We think we want something, we think it's going to be helpful, and then it turns out we really didn't need something. So I like the idea of putting it into a cart and using it as kind of this learning tool for later to say, okay, maybe I did or did not need that thing. Now, CT, where can people find out more about you, get connected with you online?
Check out the Mindful Soulpreneur website. All the resources, bunch of free resources there. One-on-one coaching if that resonates with you. And then on LinkedIn, just my name's CT Kaupp. And those would be the best 2 spots to connect.
Excellent. And we'll have the links available down in the show notes and the description so you can get connected as well. You already told us a sneak peek into the new podcast that's coming up for 2025. This is a relatively new business for you, but not new in the service aspect. You've been doing very similar work, working with clients, consulting them. Now it's just under a new brand. What else are you looking forward to in 2025? It's kind of this new launching point for you. What are you getting excited for?
Yeah, I feel like it's preparation meets opportunity, and giving me the kind of opportunity and the platform to get this message out there. I feel like I've been doing this kind of work my entire life. The aura or the energy that I seem to give off is, as a life coach, people would just ask me if I'm doing that, or they would just ask me for advice. It's very different though when like friends and family are asking that versus people that are paying you to do that. There's a little bit financial incentive to actually do the work and make the changes and the transformation. But I'm excited to get the message out there. I'd like to do a lot more speaking, and so I feel like that'll be a benefit to the business, but then also just overall for people to hear the message. And so between that and the podcast and just getting things rolling, I'm really excited to see where things will be 3, 6, 12 months from now.
Absolutely. That is very exciting. Now, you seem like someone who is a lifelong learner. You like to advance yourselves and kind of, teach and inspire others as well. Is there a book, an author, a podcast series, a YouTuber out there that you would recommend? Something that's been very helpful for you or you think might be helpful for other entrepreneurs and solopreneurs?
It's hard for me to just say one, but I would say maybe mindset gurus. I don't know how you want to phrase it, but Brendan Burchard, he's like high performance coach. And he's like been one of my inspirations. And then also Dr. Michael Gervais has a podcast called Finding Mastery. That's very personal growth, development, growth oriented. Both of those highly recommend. Brendan, you can find him anywhere and everywhere. But yeah, look at Finding Mastery podcast. That's a good one.
That is wonderful. I always like to ask because I add them into my watch list and reading list for later because I'm someone who loves to read other stories, inspiration. I like to connect and network with people. I feel like the more information that we can help share with each other kind of helps lift everybody up. We can be in same or similar industries, but we never quite work with the same people. I really believe even in the same industry, people will kind of gravitate towards the people that they resonate with or the people that they like. So you could have a list of 100 kind of clarity consultants in a room, but there's always going to be enough work for everybody available based on you. People connect with you and your experience, how you speak with them. I think that's so important. Are there any communication practices, marketing tips, things that have been helpful for you in growing your business the past 8 years that you're going to be applying into your new business now?
I would say very similar to what you just said. It's really kind of owning the space and being you, and that'll resonate with the right people and we'll bring the right people to you. And I think also we kind of talked about this pre-recording that you don't have to be everywhere. So like pick the one or two platforms that you want to plant your flag in or on and be there and be present instead of trying to be everywhere. Because it's kind of like the whole niche idea. If you can help everybody, then you help nobody. And so to be cognizant of that, we don't need to follow the shiny object syndrome. If you like video, then go over here. If you don't like video, then do this thing over there. It doesn't necessarily need to, you don't follow the herd. You can kind of plant your flag, do your own thing. And people need to hear your message. Will.
Yes, absolutely. We appreciate you coming on to share all of your tips and tricks, your journey, everything that you have going on. Very excited to watch you grow and take this new business to the next level here. Is there any last words of wisdoms you want to share with people or anything about your offer? This is just want to open up the segment for you to take that over.
Yeah, I would love for you to check out the Soulful Sundays newsletter and just a weekly pause heading in the ending Sunday, ending weekend, the start fresh for the week ahead, and just trying to give that clarity and purpose and pause. I think that's really helpful. Just the intention, like I said, just taking a couple minutes and very intentional with how I write those. And it's not some long novel, just really kind of bite-sized, quick, but also actionable. And I'm enjoying that and getting really good feedback from that. So that would be the spot I would ask your audience to check out. And if it resonates with you, I'd love to have you on board.
That is wonderful. I can't tell you how helpful it is to connect and network with other like-minded entrepreneurs, especially for something like a clarity call, some sort of brainstorm session where you can put your minds together. Often we are unable to take a step back from our own business and kind of get that 30,000 foot view. So to have someone else come in and kind of get their perspective, their ideas, kind of see what they're working with, what their experience brings to the table. It doesn't hurt to have that sort of consult and clarity call with coaches, consultants to kind of get us in the right direction so we can kind of re-energize ourselves and have more focus going forward. So the services you provide, we appreciate what you do. So excited to watch you grow in 2025, and wish you all the best, and appreciate you coming on to our show.
Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your day.
Well, you as well. Thank you so much.